Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Holiday Hills by Chris Couch Games.
Holiday Hills is obviously a Christmas-themed game, and this is one that is coming to crowdfunding, so make sure to check out the link down below in the description of this video after you watch it to check out the campaign page and get all the details on this one. And as we're told, this particular game is hoping to fulfill by this Christmas. So if you are checking out this video as we release it and you go to that campaign page and you get all the details on it and you back this game, you should hopefully be playing this one by Christmas Day, and that fits great with the theme, obviously. So in this particular one, you are going to be pushing your sleigh around the edge of the board, doing action selection, and this is one of those games in which it's not like a time track necessarily, but it is one of those games where you can only move in one direction. So whatever actions you pass over, not choosing to take those actions, you don't get to go back and take them later. So you better take them while you can, but the player who is able to go all the way around the board first is going to get the most points for having completed the game the earliest. So this is a little bit of a give and take, deciding how far along the action track you want to go, passing up options to be able to decorate the board, because the theme in this one is that you are decorating the North Pole, and you'll be putting out your little Christmas trees, your 3D Christmas trees and ornaments and lights and whatnot, trying to get the most points by fulfilling different patterns. Let's go down to the table. I'll show you how this one works, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, so here's Holiday Hills out on the table. Now let me show you all about this Christmas decoration game. Now I do want to make sure you understand what you see as prototypes of the final artwork components. Maybe even some of the rules might change once it's released from crowdfunding. What you have here for this one, you've got a very large central board that is going to have some cutouts for different 3D objects to be able to be placed into the board, such as these Christmas trees that you are going to be decorating. Now, in addition to all of that, you do have lots of other 3D components. You've got your Christmas decorations and your different player colors. You do have lots of dice in this game in 3 different colors. And you do have lots of cards. This is a pattern fulfillment game at its heart, in which you will be fulfilling the different patterns on these cards somewhere out here in the North Pole, decorating as you go, moving around the outside part of the board. And when you get back to your cottage that you start at, that will be the end of your game. Now, in this one, this is a game in which you will move down the line, and once you've passed over a different action, you can't come back to that action. You're going to move as far as you want, stopping at some place, taking an action, gaining some things along the way. But ultimately, once you pass something over, you can't go back to it. So you have to be wise about which ones you stop at, because you don't want to take too long, because the person who gets back first to their house is going to get the most points. Whoever gets back last is going to get the fewest number of points. And so you want to be wise about how quickly you move around the board. So on your turn, it's very simple. Just decide if you want to move along the outer blue line or the inner whitish blue line, picking up whatever you cross over and choosing a stop along the way to take its specific action. So what are the different actions? Well, they are on your player aid, and your player aid has got an iconography guide right here. But basically, taking the bulb and candy cane action allows you to place your bulbs and candy canes out on one of the trees that you see out on the board. And it doesn't have to be one of your trees that matches your player color. It could be any of the trees. So I might place a candy cane there and a bulb right there. And each tree has space to hold 4 different objects, one on each of the cardinal directions. But that's the bulb and candy cane action. The Christmas tree action is going to allow you to place one of your Christmas trees out on the board anywhere you want. The Christmas light action is going to let you place one of your strings of lights on any 2 adjacent trees, and again, any 2 adjacent trees. So I could do it on the yellow player's tree right here, taking up one of their spots. And I might want to do that because In addition to fulfilling these different patterns, which we'll show you those here in just a second, I'm wanting to try to get my objects to be on as many trees as possible, because whoever has the most objects on a tree at the end might get extra points. But I don't want to load up other players' trees too much, because that might be giving them points as well. We'll cover that at the end game scoring. So that's pretty much the different actions that I'm going to be taking around the board, but along the pathways, I might cross over some presents of different colors. That means I am gaining different colored dice. So if I took this outer blue pathway crossing over this green Christmas present, this blue Christmas present, and maybe I stopped right here to do these Christmas lights, well, I would gain a blue die and a green die, rolling them and placing them in my sleigh, because my sleigh actually holds 2 dice. As you can see right there, that's pretty nifty. And I'll carry those around with me until I come to one of these icons, which allows me to unload one of my dice at any tree. And maybe I put it right here. And why would I want to do that? Well, let's take a look at the cards that I've been talking about, because there are going to be 3 different types of cards with different patterns that you're going to be trying to match at some point throughout the course of the game. Let's cover these first. So these are the ones in which you want to try to get your different colored dice at one of your trees. So in this case, I want 2 blue and 2 red at one of my trees somewhere by the end of the game. Here's one of my trees with a blue star. I've got a blue die right here. So I've got 1 blue die. I just need to try to get the other 3. For each one that I get, I will get an increasing number of points. These are going to be the Christmas light patterns, and you want to just try to replicate this pattern somewhere out here on the board. As you can see, I've already got this horizontal segment, so maybe that's that segment right there, maybe that segment, but I just need to replicate this. And yes, you can rotate these, turn them around. You cannot mirror them, however. For each segment that you get, you're going to get an increasing number of points. And then the last type is going to be the ones that involve those bulbs and candy canes. Same idea, trying to replicate that pattern somewhere out here on the board, getting an increasing number of points. That's pretty much the idea here with this game. Other players are going to be placing their trees and filling up the board as things go, placing out their decorations, and the board's going to get pretty clogged up pretty quick, as you can maybe imagine, but it's going to get very festive as well, placing out different bulbs, ornaments, Christmas lights, and players are going to be racing around the board trying to get back to their cottage as fast as possible. Every time you get to one of the corners, you have to stop at that spot. You are going to get to unload all of your dice that are on your sleigh for free, and then you will get to draw a new card from a small market of 4. There's always going to be 4 of these cards in a market. You'll take the one that you like the best, or you could take blindly off the top of the deck, but it's another pattern for you to try to match before the end of the game. And again, whoever gets back to their cottage first is going to get the highest number of points. Whoever gets back slower is going to get decreasing number of points. And this does change depending upon how many players you might have in your game. Now, you'll get points for everything that I've mentioned so far: completing the patterns, getting back to your cottage as fast as possible. But in addition to that, if you have a full tree, which means a tree that has decorations on all 4 sides, regardless of whether they're bulbs, ornaments, Christmas lights, the whatever, you will get 8 extra points for every one of your trees that are full. But if your tree has dice all around it, then it's considered to be festive, filling up the dice spots at all of your trees. That will give you 10 points per tree that is completely filled up. Now, in addition to that, you'll take a look and you'll see who has the most objects on each individual tree. The star will count 1 point for whoever is that color, plus 1 point for all of the other objects that are on this tree. So for instance, this tree right here, yellow has 1 point, but I've got 2 points as the blue player, so maybe I have the most there. We'll go ahead and fill it up and say pink has 1 here too, and maybe red got in on it and got 1 point. So if that were the case, then we will divide up points based on the dice that are around this tree. Let's say that there's a 5 and that there is a 4 there. Well, I have the most, so I get to claim this for points. I get 5 points at the end of the game, whereas the other players will get to fight over for the leftover dice. And that's how that all works. You'll add up your points at the end of the game. Whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. The game does come with a nifty little scorecard to help you to keep track of all of your points. Now, on the back of these player aids, there's going to be an extra little expansion module that you can play with if you so choose to do so. It involves those bells that I showed you earlier. There are going to be some that fit in each of these different spots. And every time you fulfill the different requirement listed underneath that bell, you get to remove it and place it somewhere on your tree, gaining the bonus next to it, which might give you an extra thing, adding 1 to your die rolls or re-rolling dice, that sort of thing. And so if you can do all 5 of these, you're going to get an extra 10 points at the end of the game. That is the skill tree expansion. Now, on the back side of the board, you have naughty mode, and obviously this looks different because you are going to start the game with all 25 trees out here in the middle. Now, notice none of the trees have any of the player stars on them, so no player controls any one star at the beginning of the game, but that will change throughout the course of the game. Another major difference is that because all the trees are out here, you don't have any action spaces along the edge of the board for putting out trees. What's there instead of those action spaces to place out trees are different action spaces that are either going to give you options to draw another pattern card that you are trying to replicate, or put out more ornaments, or swap ornaments, because in naughty mode, you are going to be able to swap ornaments or lights, because this is the light swapping space right here, with someone else out on Holiday Hills. So for instance, let's say that red player has lights there, and blue player had been working on a set here, and so maybe they've got one there, and maybe they've got one here, and they really needed this one here to complete some sort of pattern that they were trying to build, and the red player got in the way. Well, the blue player could take this action right here to swap one of their light strings with one of the other player's light strings. So that's how the swapping works. And it doesn't have to be adjacent. It could be anywhere in Holiday Hills. Now, the way the trees are going to work in naughty mode, you are going to gain a tree once the 4th element has been placed on the tree, if you are the person to place the 4th element. So if the red player had that put there, and let's say that the blue player is taking an action, and they get to place out an ornament, a candy cane, whatever, and they are placing it right here, adding the 4th piece. Well, then they get to claim that tree, and as is the case at the end of the game, you're going to get points for having a festive tree fully decorated, and then extra points if you've got the dice around it as well, just like in the normal nice game. And whoever has the most points is the person who has decorated the North Pole the best. Santa loves them the most. Not really, but you get the idea. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Holiday Hills from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, I got to ask you, because this is the thing that really caught my eye with this game, is the table presence and the 3D element. All these trees with Christmas lights and candy canes and bulbs and all sorts of stuff on them. What was your initial impression of seeing this out on the table?
Yeah, the components are great. I think you want to play with them. You want to decorate with them. So it does, it's not playing cards.
Right.
You know, I think it really, if it was any different, it wouldn't be as an exciting game.
Yes, and this is just a prototype, as I mentioned in the rules portion of the video, so keep that in mind. Definitely check out the campaign page. But our prototype did come with the components to be able to use as like a 2D flat element without the 3D trees. And it does that just in case you want kind of a lower probability that you might bump something and knock something off.
Which did happen.
It did happen, yes. But it's not too terribly difficult to just put something right back where it was. But I gotta say, the 3D element, so cool. It makes a huge difference. And I just love looking at it. It looks like Christmas on a board game. Like, that's really cool to me. But let's talk about the actual gameplay experience. So, Sam, this is obviously the main mechanic in this game, other than the pattern replication, matching patterns, is that idea of pushing your sleigh around the track and choosing what action you want to stop on, knowing that you give up the ones that you pass over. What do you think about that?
I mean, thought it was great. It was easy to understand. I did lose pretty badly because I wasn't focusing on the right areas. And I think, again, I say this in a lot of games, you kind of have to play it once to kind of figure out
just how far you should go down.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's easy to understand. The iconography is easy. It's very clear.
Yeah. And I think as you play this game, you kind of get the better handle on the balance between zooming around the board and making sure you're doing what you need to be doing on the center of the board. And what I like about this game is the player interaction, because there's only 4 spots around the tree. And so if you're trying really hard to make sure you get your pattern exactly how you need it, you got to get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
So there's definitely competition for that. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I was much more focused on my cards, my pattern cards. And I didn't do that. I wasn't making sure that my trees were fully decorated.
Right.
And I had dice around them. And so at the end, I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So that's definitely where I failed.
Yeah. So this one has really nice player interaction. It's got an easy, nice family weight mechanic of, matching the patterns on the cards. That's something that I think kids can grasp very easily. But it's got that nice tenseness of needing to try to make sure your trees are decorated, and knowing that whenever you use someone else's tree to fulfill your pattern, you're helping them out too a little bit. So there's that balance between, I don't want to give them unnecessary points just so that I can make sure my card's completed. I mean, there's a give and take to that, and that's pretty fun. So this game also comes with a naughty and nice mode, and we have a playthrough video on this game in which we are going to play this in the naughty mode. And so there's this idea with the naughty mode in which you are going to be trying to make sure you're the person who puts the last ornament or light, candy cane, whatever it might be, on the tree to be able to claim that tree as yours. So there's this idea of playing your ornaments, knowing the timing element, not wanting to be the person who puts the third element on the tree, because now you're giving the person after you the opportunity to put the last one and claim the tree. So there's that whole give and take as well. So really interesting stuff here with Holiday Hills. I think it's going to be one that would, easily fit into our holiday lineup of gaming.
I do like to decorate for all the holidays, and it's slowly starting to include board games. Just having themed board games out for certain holidays, it makes it, something to interact with.
This will definitely be getting out and about during the holiday season, but I think it's a fun game to be playing any time of year, quite honestly.
Yes, for sure.
One that you would recommend playing with non-gamers?
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to play it with our kids yet, but I think this is going to be one that we definitely can.
Yeah, absolutely. So leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about Holiday Hills and what you think about Chris Couch Games. And while you're down there, make sure to check out the link to get all the details on this specific campaign.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.